record, but we literally are. You talk about the first round. When we kicked it off yesterday, you do so much work on all of these guys, but those are pretty much all the household names that everybody pretty much knows, and we're thrilled to have landed Hutch and Jameson, just as I said yesterday. But today you're getting into real, you're getting into football player country now. When you get into this second, third round, I mean, that's like, this is guys that you might have a question mark here or there, but these guys are true football players, and all these guys are football players. But starting with Josh, he's just a versatile player. I think he can play all up and down our defensive front. He's been a highly effective interior rusher, but he can also set edges and play the run as well. He's got extremely elite character and intangibles. Some of the best that I've experienced and I've researched on. And then the other thing with both of these kids today, I would say Josh and Kirby is, I've talked a lot about conviction and buy-in and having total building conviction, total building buy-in. Like, every single person in the building is like, I'm totally bought in on this dude. That's what both of these players were today. Just the love for both of them. On all the coaching staffs and everybody. Kirby was another guy that's got a lot of high upside. Still developmental. Only been playing the position for about a year, but it's been a high-level special teams player. Good range and elite ball skills, can turn the football over. So we're very excited, for both of them. There were targets that emerged as favorites throughout the process, and we're just really excited. It's a great day today.
Speaking of the decision to focus on the defense, though, come right back with the edge rusher. Some people like the decision with that, like really locking in on defense. Why was that important?
Yeah, well, we had a lot of areas, to address, and obviously, landing Jameson, on the offensive side of the ball, we already talked about him, but there was we had a lot of question marks, but it just happened to be, now if there was a question mark on offense, and it wasn't a guy that was such as good of a football player, but it just so happened that it lined up that Josh, and Kirby, they're just those kind of football players. But with Josh, you said edge rusher, hey, you get, an edge rusher in Hutch, and then you get a guy like Josh that can play on the edge and can play inside. He could stand up if you wanted him to. So he's got a lot of versatility there. And then Kirby, again, like I said, you got a rangy safety that fits our scheme and what we're looking for.
Just to follow up on that, I don't know, how much better do you feel you are defensively now than you were a year ago, and what are maybe the merits of building young on that side of the ball so these guys can all come up together? You're so young there last year, and now spending 3 of your first 4 picks on that side.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Dave, because the real exciting thing is our coaching staff and their ability to develop those guys at such a rapid rate last year, and the growth that those guys made from training camp to late in the season get you really, really excited for those guys stepping in the second year, and then these incoming rookies, and just keep building that foundation and having the continuity with our coaching staff again, with being able to have AG again and his current staff. And so that's what really gets you excited. But Dan and I said from the start that we wanted to build through the draft. That's what we're going to continue to do. I think we made some good strides last night and tonight, and hopefully tomorrow's a good one too.
Invested quite a bit in the defensive line these first 2 years between Brockers, the day two guys last year, Charles, Aiden. So when you have seemingly, I guess, maybe getting close to a full cupboard, how do you perceive, I guess, the move of adding a guy like Josh? Is it something where you just expect the talent to sort itself out in training camp, or do you have a a very specific vision on how he can contribute as a rookie.
Yeah, well, we do have a vision for him, and just the things that I said about his ability to be an inside rusher in sub situations and see what he'll be able to do on the edge as well. It's competition. He's going to have to come in. He's going to compete. Nothing's going to be given to him, but we do have a vision for him, just as all the players that we acquired. So I don't think you can ever have too many pass rushers, and so that's kind of how we feel from there, and then we'll just let it sort out.
Josh isn't a big guy, 6'3", I think, 268, something like that. Just what is it about his skill set inside that makes him so effective as a pass rusher in that?
Yeah. He's got pop in his hands. He's got incredible instincts. He can, he can shed. He can find the football in the run game. He's beat some really good tackles, down in the SEC. He's a skillful pass rusher. He's got crafty hands, and he's explosive. He's high motor explosive. He's a football player, and that's what we talk about all the time. Not one of these guys that we've acquired aren't gritty, and so that's what all these guys are. These guys are gritty football players. Josh is one, but he's more than that. He's outstanding intangibles and character, and he should be able to contribute hopefully soon.
Second time you mentioned that, his elite character and traits and intangibles. Can you just explain that a little bit more? Like, what is it that stands out so much about him in that?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's been a 3-time captain. I think he's the only 3-time captain in the school history. He's battled things personally that he's persevered, which that often can shape a person, and just when you find out more about him and just find out how he utilized his time, and he's very, very proactive. He's very, very intentional in everything that he does. And when you hear the coaches and his teammates talk about him, you just get a little bit different tune than you're used to hearing. And so again, the more and more our area scout Steve Neal, he does a lot of work out there in Kentucky, and he came back and the research he had on him was very, very glowing, and Steve did a heck of a job. He had Dan and I sold on him to want to just find out more about him, but it's just that you're wild when you turn on the tape, but then you find out about the human being, and you're just impressed even more.
Go ahead.
With Kirby and then the Deshaun Elliott signing, just how much more comfortable do you feel at safety than you did maybe even a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it's probably fair to say that we're a little bit better there. But no, it's not just being better. We just were very, very young. Obviously, we were fortunate enough to re-sign Tracy and get him back, and then Deshaun is still a young player that has ample playing experience, but the guys behind him just hadn't played a lot. So Kirby's going to be a rookie, but again, I do think the competition is going to be fierce. From a depth standpoint, and we'll just kind of see how it falls out. What I do like about a lot of those guys is that those guys do have high level of special teams upside. When you get back to even the C.J. Moores and the Brady Breezes and those guys, and then a guy like Kirby Joseph has been a standout special teams player. So that's what gets you excited about him.
We talked to you last week. You said one of the biggest things you learned between the years is just patience. Got to be patient in the process. Tomorrow we'll test that. You got to sleep on things tonight, and then got like a 60, 70 pick weight. And I know I kind of asked you this yesterday about maybe trading up in the second round, but do you imagine it's going to be difficult to wait around all the way to 177 before selecting again?
It just depends on who's there. There was a couple of times tonight that I thought about moving up, but it's just you just gotta it's never guaranteed. You just try to see if you can find a partner, and if it lines up on both sides. It didn't quite line up tonight, but we were able to stay patient. But luckily we're still able to land Kirby, but it was around Kirby when I kind of got that itch a little bit, but stayed patient. You guys know me; I can get that itch sometimes. But I get you almost got 2 full rounds, almost tomorrow. But you just kind of see we like where the board's at now. There's still some good football players out there. Dan and I were just looking at it, and so we're still excited, and we'll just kind of see how it falls. But if it's the right guy, it's got to be the right timing, and then if the gut feels right, I'll strike if I feel it's necessary.
McVay hold you back guy from your cell phone.
John Dorsey sits behind me, so he kind of like the voice of wisdom. But no, seriously, it's just got to feel right. I will say, I talk it over with Dan. I asked the rest of the guys in the room. Ray Agnew, Dorsey, Lance. Everybody, Dave Sears, and I'll ask those guys what they think, and then I'll get their input. I've always said, I don't have all the answers. I got a lot of knowledge that's surrounding me, and so I lean on all those guys.
Two foundational pieces, obviously. Do you feel like this draft has given you a chance to add more impact guys, and not just rounding out the roster, but guys that, not just the guys yesterday, but even guys today, impact guys?
Yeah, I truly think that, and it's especially about this draft, because I think a lot of narratives I think were made about this draft, and it's a lot of narratives about all the drafts to say, oh, this is a strong draft, this is not a strong draft, and all that. And so whatever narrative, but if you think it's strong or not as strong, sometimes it's like, hey, look, sometimes you say, if it's not as strong, then just trade back. Well, you keep trading back, and it's not as strong as what everybody's saying. So if you just stay patient and you have your board stacked right, there are some good football players that we were able to acquire that we think can be foundational pieces. It's, again, like I've always said, it's up to us. We got to hold ourselves accountable and make sure that we do our part and to develop these players and make sure that the structure and the resources are right around them. But if we do our part and then they control what they control, we should all have success.
Brad, there was a report earlier today. There was a potential report earlier today about a potential offer on the table with the 49ers for Deebo Samuel. Can you confirm or deny that report?
Well, I did say last time that, whenever a player is, being discussed about a trade or anything like that, we'll always look into all of that, but those are internal discussions. Leave it at that.
Coming into this draft, one of them was that it was a weak quarterback class. Just sort of big picture, why do you think quarterbacks have been so slow to come off the board in general? A couple of them went there, obviously, in round 3, but I don't know. Do you just have any thoughts on maybe why quarterbacks were slow coming off, and why you guys decided not to pick one in the first 3 rounds?
Well, I'm trying to think the best way to answer that. I think the quarterbacks were evaluated and graded what they were evaluated and graded as. Now look, in personnel, we can't control how the media grades and evaluates, and the outside people grades and evaluates people. So when quarterbacks are being tabbed as this, that, and that by the outside narrative, and I'm not saying, often the media, they have contacts in scouting, and they're talking to people in personnel, and if it is, then it is. But I looked at the quarterbacks, and I thought that they were taken where we thought they should have been taken, at least from our standpoint. So I didn't see it as they were being mistreated or being like not being taken fairly. It's just I think they were evaluated properly. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.